Hi, Dr. Rob Silverman here, ACA Sports Counsel, Chiropractor Year 2015, and Amazon bestselling author, Inside Out Health. Well, once again, we've got episode number 4 of Proven Health Alternatives, and we've got Dr. Dane Donohue. Dr. Donohue is definitely going to give you some spine-tingling key takeaways and truly going to motivate you on why you want to stay healthy. He is the founder of 8 Weeks to Wellness, and he's the founder of the Wellness Score, and you're going to love what he has to share. Proven Health Alternatives. I have a good friend and founder of 8 Weeks to Wellness and the Wellness Score, one of the best chiropractors I know, and a health advocate, Dr. Dane Donohue. Dane, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, buddy. I'm excited to do this interview with you and share some valuable information for your listeners.
I really appreciate that. I am looking forward to allowing everybody to hear what you have to say. I've known Dane for almost 20 years. I'm not going to steal any of his thunder in that Dane is a third-generation chiropractor. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And Dane has founded, you must have like almost 100 distributors in 8 Weeks to Wellness.
We have, I think we have between 70 and 80 right now, and we're in Canada, US, and the UK.
Outstanding. And you have a book, correct?
Yes, co-author of Fat, Fatigued, and Fed Up.
Great. And you're going to let everybody know how they can get that also?
Sure, you can just go to Amazon and pick it up.
Outstanding. And I just want to dig in a little bit, and I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself and your practice.
Sure. So, I knew only because of being in a chiropractic family, since the time I was born, seeing my dad. My dad was a chiropractor, had a home office, Robert. So I got to see a lot of his patients who would come crawling and limping in and then walking and running out not too long afterwards. I got to spend a lot of time with my uncle, who was a big influence on me. I spent a lot of time in his practice, and I think my dad was a great clinician. My uncle was a great educator and clinician. And I really got to see the power of educating patients and really having influence on their behaviors and how that affected their health versus just treating them. And that was a big impact on me. And, I just really wanted to devote my life to a healing profession that was drugless, that was natural, that really had a philosophy to it. In chiropractic, we believe that the body heals from the inside out, not from the outside in, and that really resonated with me. So I graduated chiropractic school about 28 years ago. In 1991, I went to Texas Chiropractic College, where my dad and my grandfather went. And then I was in practice for about 10 years. My sister, I have a twin sister who went the path of engineering, decided that she hated engineering, went back to school to become a chiropractor. She joined me in practice in, I believe, 1994, 1995. And in around 2000, we started to become a little bit disillusioned by our practice because we just weren't having the impact with patients that we wanted to have. And I believed a lot of that was the way they were living their life versus the way we wanted them to live their life. And so we really started to think about if we really wanted to impact patients at a deeper level and really help them heal. My buddy Joe Tilley always says, and I use this with patients all the time, but the first 4 letters in the word health spell heal. And most people have a healing challenge that come to our offices. And that may be multifocal. They may have a healing challenge biochemically. They may have a healing challenge with their gut. They may have a healing challenge in their spine and nervous system. So, how can we address all these deficiencies that patients have?
Outstanding. That's so funny because, with Denise, I had an accounting degree, so I can really relate to that. And isn't there a possibility of a 4th generation chiropractor?
In Penn State, he's second year studying kinesiology, and his plan is to become a chiropractor, so he'll be 4th generation. So it speaks to how powerful what we do is and its ability to impact, our family and really want to devote their life to something special.
Outstanding. So, what are the skills that you learned that you feel real important to have success in practice? Because that's a critical element. So many chiropractors are great chiros, and they're a little frustrated. And, they want some clinical application in how to thrive and help people.
That's a really great question. And what I find and what I've seen in speaking a lot to both chiropractors and functional medicine doctors is that they tend to have only one tool in their toolkit, or maybe 2 tools. And I believe in this day and age, if you're really going to help patients, you need to have multiple tools in your toolkit and not be one-dimensional. So, for example, the chiropractor may be the best adjuster in the world, But you and I both know if somebody's inflamed and has leaky gut issues and they have autoimmune challenges, they need more than just the adjustment. And likewise, Dr. Robert, a lot of chiropractors and functional medicine doctors have this one tool of nutrition and supplementation where they can help a patient biochemically. So maybe they help to address that leaky gut, or they help to address that autoimmune issue, but they lack the skills to really understand how proper movement and function in the spine and nervous system influences health. So I think one of the critical skills is really having a thorough understanding globally of how to affect patients' health.
That's great, because, what really drew me to you was the full complement of what a chiropractic clinic could do with the nutrition, with the adjustment, with the functional fitness, with the assessment. Some of the biggest things that I find that chiropractors don't do, and you guys do a great job of, is we don't assess. And, we have to show the patients a starting point.
Yeah, and I so agree with that, Robert. We do a lot of assessment in our office, from lab work to neurologic assessments to using the InBody for body composition, checking for visceral fat. And I believe that you can't change a problem that you don't know exists. So the more you can have a systemized way of assessing a patient globally for the really big things, I believe in Pareto's principle, 80% of your output comes from 20% of your inputs. So what 20% of the patient do we really want to look at? We want to look at their biochemical health by looking at their labs and assessing what's going on. Are they dyslipidemic? Are they inflamed? Do they have any type of metabolic syndrome or problem with their sugar? But then beyond that, we want to look at things like functional movement patterns in our patient. And we want to look at their spine. I can't tell you how many patients I look at their spine, their x-rays, and they're an absolute mess. And I don't know of any drug that has been able to strengthen a muscle or move a bone and, stimulate the nervous system that way. So I think the assessments are really, really key. And having a systemized way, we use something called the wellness score. We look at 4 dimensions of a patient's health. So we look at their biochemical health. We look at their functional fitness, would be things like how their movement patterns are, how much muscle they have on their body. Number one predictor of aging is loss of muscle mass, right? So we also look at their neurospinal health, and then we look at general health biomarkers. So we have a systemized way of assessing our patients based on their presenting complaints, and then also based on their functional biology and the functional physiology that we want to look at to help to come up with a treatment plan. Because once you find the problem, well, then the solution becomes self-evident in detecting the problem. I think the problem that a lot of practitioners have is they don't have the tools to assess a patient globally to really see they may have 4 or 5 deficits functionally that's going on in their health.
Outstanding. I agree with you. I mean, I wholeheartedly concur. So I had all these great questions, and now your explanation has drawn me into some extemporaneous questions. So talk a little bit about 8 Weeks to Wellness. I mean, I know you've touched upon it, but just give like the 5 tenets,
Sure.
Reader's Digest version of what a patient can expect and what the doctor would have, and how easy it is for him to implement. I mean, I've been at so many of your seminars, and, chiropractors and people in general are like, well, I don't want to change. Right. It's like, you don't have to change. Right. That's the beauty part. So
yeah, and I think the foundation of this question is that doctors have to take the personal responsibility that if they don't change, then people die. And it's just that simple. We live in a world that's toxic. We live in a world that's movement deficient. We live in a world that's emotionally just a mess for patients in terms of the stressors that they're dealing with and not being able to manage stress properly. So if you don't change and you're one dimensional, you only have that one toolkit, you're going to be obsolete, because patients are looking for practitioners that can help them. They don't have the time to see 5 different practitioners, one for their nutrition and one for their neurospinal health and one for their, chronic illnesses. They want one practitioner that they can see. And I really say, Robert, that, I think in today's world, people really need 2 doctors. They need that sick care doctor, because let's face it, people will get sick, and we want to have a good doctor in case we have an acute problem that can help us. But we also need that doctor in our lives who's going to hold us accountable to making changes in our lifestyle so that we never get sick in the first place. And I think people invest too much time, too much energy, too much money in our system, in the sick care system, and we're not investing enough resources into that wellness doctor. So we developed 8 Weeks to Wellness as a way to come up with a program, because I always feel, and I'm sure you see this in practice, Robert, you can hand somebody an exercise sheet, you can hand them a book on diet, But if they don't have the personal accountability and the coach, right, to really walk them through it, hold them accountable to make sure that they know how to make the changes, what changes need to be made, and then show them what those changes are affecting physiologically in the body, they're just not going to do it. Maybe you'll have that one or two patients per year that have the personal discipline to do it, but most people won't read and change. They need a coach, they need a program, they need a system, and that's why we created 8 Weeks to Wellness. So we created around 3 tenets, and these are basically, we all learned these in chiropractic school, but some of us just learn to apply them like I have. It's the physical stressors, the mental emotional stressors, and the biochemical stressors. So we use 5 fundamental therapies in 8 Weeks to Wellness: chiropractic care, functional nutrition, functional fitness, massage, and then mindfulness or meditation. And we measure a patient's lab work. We measure their biomarkers in the beginning. We put them through the program. The program takes about 7 hours total to do everything, do their cooking, get their adjustments, do their functional training, do their meditations for 10 minutes every day. Takes about 7 hours, and a week consists of 168 hours when you think about it, Robert. And I think that people need to invest some of that time. 7 hours I don't think is a long time. It comes out to be about 5% of their waking hours back into the most important resource that's going to have an impact on all of those other 161 hours that they spend in their life per week. So we ask people to make a commitment, invest their time, invest some money back into that resource that then is going to go out and be able to positively impact all the other, causes and missions that they have in their life, their job, their kids, their hobbies, those types of things.
To piggyback on what you said, I wholeheartedly agree. I practice, like everybody knows. And, sometimes you don't offer a service that's very mundane to you, and the patient leaves. And a lot of it is nutrition, chiropractic, and sort of like you said, functional fitness, physical therapy, that kind of thing. And that you have it on one roof really enables the patient to, like you said, make one-stop shop. You said it took 7 hours for the week, which isn't a lot. But how about if they had to see the 2 doctors and travel to different places? How much would they lose in travel time? So
Absolutely.
You're there. And you could go 15 minutes each way, and that's a half hour every time you go 2 to 3 times a week, and you just burned all that time and it wasn't productive. And also, they're being seen by you.
Sure.
When they go to other places, sometimes we don't know who they're being seen by. So that's really great that you can do it all in one, and you can have that synergistic, like fix the body from the inside out. So you can really have that idea. And that's what's really sexy, if you will, about 8 Weeks to Wellness, and very effective. Plus, I don't know if you want to do the insurance conversation. We'll save that for another talk. But
that's an easy conversation to me, Robert, because I believe that patients will pay. I know they pay. I had 2, let's see, what's today, Thursday. This was on Monday evening. I had 2 patients commit to 8 Weeks to Wellness in the evening, and my program's $3,400 and it's cash. So that was a little less than $7,000 in the evening that people were willing to write a check, hand over a credit card, because they saw the value of what it was going to do in their life. I have one patient that finished about 3 months ago, but he's continued to train in our office, continue with the 8 Weeks to Wellness nutrition. His A1C has gone from 8.7 to 5.5 in that time.
Wow.
But that's just the changes physiologically, but the changes in him as a human being, in his productivity and his ability to just be a kinder, happier person, that's the real value I think that people are willing to spend money for. So not only do they do the program, Robert, but when they see a culture that's really helping them to become a better human being, that's something I think anybody would be willing to pay out of pocket for. So, we don't do a lot of insurance in our practice. We do some, but we believe that patients will pay when they see the value. And the great thing is we've been doing it long enough now, about 13 years, where we have so many testimonials out in our community. So I think when people see the value because they see it in others, it's so much easier to see it in yourself. When you see somebody else has been successful, you say, you know what, that person is doing great. They look great. They've lost all this weight. They got a bounce in their step. They're happier. Then they're willing to say, you know what, I'm willing to invest money in myself because I see that change in another human being.
Well, we've spent a lot of time really explaining how great 8 Weeks to Wellness is. And I think some of the questions or some of the issues for some of the doctors would be, how would they transition from a functional wellness practice into a lifestyle practice with their current patient base? Could you give some pointers on how to do that?
Sure. I think that's, when we interview people, and that's what we do when we accept somebody in 8 Weeks to Wellness, because it's not for everybody. If you're looking to just put a wellness sign on your door, 8 weeks to wellness isn't for you. I mean, you have to do some real fundamental change in yourself, and you have to do some fundamental changes in your practice to be able to offer this. So, for example, one of the things that I thought was really critical, Robert, and I think you would agree with this, is that we wanted to have a system to the functional training that brought the functional training in-house. You and I both know, because we're CrossFitters, just the horrible form that we see in people that don't know how to train properly. And that's people that go to CrossFit, which is a higher level of coaching than most people who just go to the gym and get no coaching. So we wanted to be able to direct people so that they were training movement patterns and not training muscles. And so we brought the functional training in-house. So that's an obstacle for a lot of doctors because they don't have a functional training facility in their office. But it doesn't take anything. Robert, I started 8 weeks to wellness in 2003. I had 225 square feet of functional training space. You could get 2 people in my functional training center with the trainer, and that's it. And you had to turn sideways to get by people, but it worked. We were able to train 2 people an hour. We were able to train them in the model that we teach, which is, interval training, cardio, right? Burst training, mobility, right? We do a lot of posture and mobility work, and then we do strength training. We do it in 3 20-minute sections. So 20 minutes of interval training cardio, 20 minutes of mobility and posture, 20 minutes of strength training. And that's a format that we have for all 8 weeks to wellness center. And that's based on the functional movement assessment. So we've already assessed their functional movement patterns to see where there's dysfunctions are, so we can build in corrective exercises based on if they have a hip issue or if they're upper cross, or they have a lower back issue where their hamstrings and lower back fascia are completely seized up. So everything that we do in terms of being able to offer 8 weeks to wellness is really all about training and implementation. And there's definitely going to be some things that doctors need to change about themselves, their teams, their systems, and their physical plan.
That's fantastic. How can they find out about this?
So we have 2 websites. We have one for patients. It's 8, the number 8, www.com. And then we have one for doctors, and that's learn8ww.com. And they can go to that, and there's videos and, patient testimonials, doctor testimonials, where we do our events. Everything is really in those 2 sites. If they're interested from the patient perspective, what the patient gets, what's the program all about, patient testimonials, they can go to 8ww.com. But if they're interested in creating this, and I always say, Robert, why reinvent the wheel, right? I have about 15 years of experience in running a functional wellness business and clinical practice that works. I live this, I breathe it. I'm in my own office right now. We have we collect over $1 million in this facility per year. I don't know a lot of doctors that are collecting $1 million in cash per year, and we do that because of 8 weeks to wellness and the services that we offer that's relative to it, so the way they really can learn about it is by talking to some of these doctors that are running these highly successful types of practices.
That's great to hear. I was wondering, I'll give you a little personal thing at the end. We talked a lot about business. Was there anything that you had to overcome as a person to get to where you are right now? Because there's always a story. It's like a TED Talk. What's your why, dude? Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things for me is I read a book one time that really changed my life. And it was, I can't tell you, Robert, it was almost like somebody hit me with a baseball bat between my 2 eyes. And the book was called Authentic Happiness. And I'll relate it back to this. I was in practice. I was doing insurance. I was getting big, Blue Cross Blue Shield checks. I was getting big PI checks. But deep down inside, I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my purpose of why I got into chiropractic in the first place, which was really to help people. I lost sight of my mission, because I was making good money and I was not happy. I was doing things that I just wasn't proud of. My marriage was, in shambles, and it's because I was upset. When you don't feel good, you go and look for ways to feel better that aren't really healthy. And when I read this book, the book was written by Martin Seligman, and he is a researcher from the University of Pennsylvania that talks a lot about learned helplessness, and he studied happy people as opposed to studying depressed people, people with, any type of mental disorder like schizophrenia. He said, I want to study happy people and find out what are they doing differently than people that are unhappy. And the biggest common denominator in the research was not where they lived. It wasn't their gender. It wasn't how much money they made. The biggest common denominator between all happy people was they served beyond their own needs. And I'll say that again, they served beyond their own needs. And at the time, Robert, I was serving myself pretty good. I had the boat and I had the cars and I had the home and I was making the money. but I wasn't serving others, like my family and my patients, at the level that I wanted to. And when I read that line, I made and I get tingles thinking about it, but I made a personal conviction that I was going to start to focus on service. And where could I serve the best? Well, I could serve the best in the talent that I feel that God and my family has given me, which is teaching people how to be healthy. And that's where 8 Weeks to Wellness was born. And, just the changes we made in so many lives, and really starting to become a better husband and a better father. And it's just it was a challenge I look back on now and say that was a blessing, because it led me to this book that really got me studying happiness, that led me to, this place in my life where now, I still take time for myself. I don't think it's unselfish to take time for yourself. But I think, we talk about this all the time, that, if you give away your time and your talent, you're selfless, and if you don't, you're selfish. You're thinking about yourself all the time. And people that are unhappy, that are unhealthy, that don't feel good, Robert, they're thinking about themselves too much. So I was thinking about myself too much. And when you think about yourself, you cannot think about others and what you want to give. And so that was just a thing that I overcame, where now I really look at my life, and I can honestly say that I am doing so much good in my life with my family and my patients and other doctors and what we've created with 8 Weeks to Wellness. And I've never been happier. I'll be 50 next month, and I am just getting started, because I am working my butt off. But I tell you, Robert, I get up at like 4:30, 5 at the latest every morning. I go till about 10 o'clock at night. And I am just doing what I feel God has put me on the screen earth to do, which is use this platform of functional wellness and functional health and functional medicine to go out and teach people how to live a healthy lifestyle, and hold them accountable, and give them a program and a coach to do it.
Outstanding. I'm getting tingling just listening to you. That's
Go.
outstanding. Stephanie's over here. She's looking at me and she's just like, he never gets tingles. You can't hear. So that's great. So they can get in touch with you for patients at 8ww.com. For doctors, learn 8ww.com. Say your book again, please.
Fat, Fatigued, and Fed Up.
And if anybody ever needs you to come make an appearance, it's Dr. Dane Donohue.
So it's Dr. Dane, no period, DRDANE, at 8ww.com.
Outstanding. It's been my pleasure. We have to do it again.
Absolutely. I would like to return the favor and have you on my podcast.
I'd love to be there. Dr. Dane Donohue, a leader in healthcare. Hope to see you soon. Thanks, everybody. Dr. Rob, always yours in health.